What's up, wife gatherers and Wuwa grinders? It's your boy Mikey here, and today we will be talking about the famous shorekeeper of the Black Shores. Now, if you have been living under a rock like Patrick the Star from SpongeBob, then you might not have figured out yet, but for some reason in Wuthering Waves, the two best supports in the game happen to be Spectro. The first character being Verena from the standard banner, despite the fact that I didn't use any of my free vouchers or free standard banner pulls on Verena, which I'm surprised I even got her. Yeah, I did almost brick my account, so what? Anyways, the second best support character is gonna obviously be Shorekeeper. Now, you're probably wondering why I labeled Shorekeeper one of the best characters in the game if you aren't familiar with her. So that's exactly what we'll be talking about today, so let's jump right into the video. I think a very important thing to talk about when thinking about a character to summon for and waste those hard-earned asterisks on is the longevity of said character. Like, how long will I be able to utilize Shorekeeper before I would consider replacing her? Will she last on my account, and will I be able to utilize her to the best of her ability? Is she worth my summons? These are all kind of the same question, so this is exactly what we're going to be going over. So here's the thing, Shorekeeper at this point in time doesn't really have a replacement, and that's crazy to think about because with the rerun banner coming up shortly after Camellia versus Cantarella, for those of you lacking a second or maybe even a first strong support unit, and I say this because you may have been like me and you might not have used any of your vouchers on Verena for some reason, and now you are really lacking a really strong support unit, Shorekeeper may be hard to give up for multiple reasons. So we should consider the factors. The first part I really want to highlight is the type of buffs we get when using Shorekeeper. It's really hard to pass up getting a character that pretty much amplifies your main DPS or on-fielded to do big numbers. And I'm talking about really big numbers, like Shorekeeper makes a really big impact on that. Just alone being able to amplify your team to have both crit rate and crit damage buffs is absolutely insanity on its own. And in terms of raw damage output, she will support your team better than Verena can if played properly. And this is obviously not to throw jabs at Verena, because as we mentioned before, Verena still is one of the best support units in the game. And if for some reason you thought that's pretty insane, how about the fact that these amplifications aren't lost on switching out Shorekeeper, meaning when you switch Shorekeeper out, you don't lose those buffs. And on top of that, if you do struggle with surviving or you are a newer player, Shorekeeper provides insane amount of heals to your entire team, making her even more useful when it comes to picking her up as your main support character. I mentioned this before in another video, but even if by slight chance a new support character comes out that may end up being better than Shorekeeper, you still do not lose out. The reason being is the sole fact of the versatility when it comes to team compositions. Shorekeeper can insert herself into any team and have value because of her kit. Not every single character in Wuthering Waves can do this, mainly because lots of characters in this game are going to be niched down to their element as far as getting the maximum value and use out of said character. And what I mean by this is you could take, for example, Zhizhe. Her best partner is going to be Carlotta, and Carlotta will fare way better out together with Zhizhe, but trying to put Carlotta with like Yinlin, for instance, doesn't make as much sense since they do not collab well together. Yinlin would be better used with Kulchara or Zhongli Yao. However, you want to know something about Shorekeeper? Those two examples I gave, Shorekeeper can put herself into both of those teams and make them both better. You can be a support character for Carlotta and Zhizhe, provide them insane heals and amazing damage amplifications, and do the same exact thing for Yinlin and Zhongli Yao, or even Yinlin and Kulchara. This is exactly what I mean by there is no loss. He simply is just that good. Now, this topic is called, is she free to play friendly? Well, you decide on a character that can play in any of your teams with her versatile kit, and if you are a player who is not around for the first drop of Shorekeeper, this will be your last chance in a while to have a solo support carry.
Damn, Mikey's really glazing Shorekeeper.
You are 100% correct, my guy, and I will continue to glaze Shorekeeper because that's just how good she is. Hey you, if you are new and haven't smashed the subscribe button, join that 1% of people who are subbed. I highly appreciate it. Thank you. Okay guys, so what about the weapon? Well, as far as the weapon goes, I would honestly have to say you do not have to get the limited banner weapon. If you have at least 2 copies of the variation rectifier, this will do, as the main goal for Shorekeeper is to build her off of energy regeneration and maximizing the concerto so that we can have better rotations throughout your team comp. Although I know how it goes, having the weapon is tasteful and you just want to match your limited banner character with that shiny new 5-star weapon. However, if you want to maximize investment into your account, I would recommend proceeding down this path. If you are like me, maybe you want to consider the weapon, as I only have 1 copy of the variation rectifier. While gamers may say you don't actually have to get the weapon and you should save your astrate, but I just wanted to say it's very important to take in consideration that much like Shorekeeper, her weapon is also unique in that sense. It works on all support units and probably will be a good weapon for future support characters as well. And this rectifier provides the team with attack buff when the current character you equip is using their resonance skill, leading to more team attack damage. Overall, kind of like Shorekeeper, her weapon even has longevity for a good investment investment on your account, so I would consider this option as well. And if you need to save your ash rate and your summons for other things that you are looking into down the line, then it's totally understandable why you'd only want to get Shorekeeper at the very least. But anyways, it really all depends on the state of your account, whether you want to summon the weapon or not. But I would really consider it. There's new characters coming out soon, like the long-awaited Zanny, who is one of the most hyped characters in Wuthering Waves at this point in time. And she is going to be a Spectral Gauntlet user, and she looks to be absolutely insane. And you know, it's really hard because they have Shorekeeper rerunning right before her banner releases, and it kind of really gets on my nerves, but you know how this thing works. Based off the images, she's gonna have a second form. Now, of course, I'm gonna be based off conjecture with every take that I do, because I do not promote leaks personally, as it is harmful in my opinion, and I do not want to be on Kuro Games' bad side, so I apologize. However, with how hyped Zanny is, I really doubt that Kuro Games is gonna decide to make her a really bad character. Also, she's a Montelli, so that's a plus too, and all my homies hate the Facilias. Anyways, sorry, let's get back on topic here. There's also new characters like the new Arrow character coming out in 2.3 with Zanny called Sisiona, and I might have butchered that, so if I did, can somebody help me mention that correctly in the comments down below? I do not know how to pronounce her name. Now, Zanny and Sisiona won't be as much as a priority as Shorekeeper, because Shorekeeper is on her first rerun, which means it's crunch time. Once Shorekeeper comes out and this banner ends, you can say bye-bye to her for a very long time, because every character deserves a rerun before another character gets their second rerun, so you can kind of do the math there. So this is also something to think about as well, which is why I encourage the summoning of Shorekeeper. You can always get these other characters on rerun if you do not have enough summons at this point in time, and I know that sounds ironic coming from the guy who just said Montelli, no Facilia, but man, it's Shorekeeper. And like I was mentioning, there is other characters who are due for reruns, like the characters at the beginning of chapter 2, like Carlotta and Roshia, for example, that you can look forward to as far as other characters go. However, as much as this may all seem exciting, or you are maybe anticipating these characters, unless if you absolutely dislike Shorekeeper for whatever the case may be, or you are the type of player that only summons for characters you want to summon for, which I have no idea why anyone would dislike Shorekeeper. There's absolutely nothing wrong with her. I mean, her design's amazing, she's amazing, the voice acting on her is amazing, and she in general is just a really good character, both lore wise and meta wise. But the most important thing is that none of these characters that I mentioned before comes to how good Shorekeeper is for the longevity of your entire account. Well, the reason being is because support characters, and not just Wuthering Waves, but most gacha games, have way more longevity as far as a better investment on your account goes than your typical DPS flashy characters, and that is just always going to be the truth no matter what you think. So swallow that pill if you don't think that, and that's the honest truth. And even if for some reason a new character comes out that is equivalent or even ends up being better than Shorekeeper, like I mentioned earlier, you will never lose out on Shorekeeper's value on what she could do on a team. She alone is the honored one, and she is a certified pull, and I cannot stress this enough. I will be summoning for Shorekeeper, if that wasn't obvious already. Shorekeeper is not a niche support character, and I know I've said this throughout the video, but she will support me as I make multiple teams down the line with whatever DPS characters I decide to invest into. And this is good for me because I actually love picking characters that I find aesthetically pleasing for me to have on my account. So even if I didn't want Shorekeeper because I didn't like her for whatever the case may be, me summoning one character out of all the future characters that I want to summon for really isn't that much of a give up. I am just being honest. Shorekeeper for me is just a certified pull. I already personally don't play much of endgame because my characters aren't really that built, and I haven't really mastered the combat as much as I want to. But in my mind, I know that Verena is one of the best supports in the entire game for a guaranteed good all-around support, and these rules also apply to Shorekeeper as well. The crit rate and crit damage both are just simply way too hard to give up when it comes to this. Also a bonus for me, since I am still learning how to use my controller in Wuthering Waves, coming from keyboard and mouse gameplay, or just an investment I can't see myself missing out on, because she is also a priority pick at the moment, and she won't be getting a rerun in a long time. Now, as far as the weapon goes, I don't have much rectifiers for both my support characters, Verena and Shorekeeper, to be able to support both of them in the Tower of Adversity. However, the weapon isn't really needed per se. I will say my position and what I want to invest into my account. I'll be trying my best to get the weapon, only because for account longevity, I will need it even if somewhere in the long distance future, maybe I won't use Shorekeeper. The weapon will still hold its value to use on other support characters that can utilize it. Being able to give my team attack buffs from the carrier's residence skill is going to help my DPS character dish out more numbers while on the field, and even sometimes my hybrid characters. Another thing that I really thought about is the fact I know Zanny's coming out and I really want to pull for the Montellis, but at the same time, Shorekeeper is just a priority, and I don't know when we'll get another chance to cop Shorekeeper. Then there's also the problem of thinking about if there's going to be another character that will come anywhere near close to Verena and Shorekeeper. We just cannot determine that, and although it's been a while since we've seen a good support character, I want to also keep in mind that Shorekeeper got our first rerun before we even saw another support character that can do what these two can do. Talking about Verena and Shorekeeper. It's really hard thinking about skipping when you have the unknown to think about. But let's be real here, that's what makes gambling our pulls and gacha gates mostly exciting when it comes to the unknown. But with that topic, I know one thing's for certain. I won't hurt my account getting Shorekeeper. I'll do more positive things than negative if I skip her. And if I don't have enough summons by the time Zaina gets her first run, then I can always get her on a rerun. And then also by then, something y'all can take into consideration when deciding to summon for new characters, even during a new character banner run, if you are still unsure about a character coming out, if you end up skipping that character, you will have more info on that character by the time they get their rerun. Just something that I do in a lot of gacha games actually. If you made it to the end of the video, subscribe, turn on post notifications, hit the comment section down below and let me know your thoughts, and also smash that like button. Thanks you guys for watching. Peace out.